Hello people, I'm here with a new Pokemon theory for you. Today I'll be looking at the origins of Genesect and who his predecessor may be. There have been many theories about this and now I'm presenting one of my own. So, Genesect, a Pokemon resurrected and modified from the fossilized remains of an extinct Pokemon. But who was that extinct Pokemon? Based on what we know, it was a Pokemon that lived 300 million years ago. Due to having a similar appearance, many fans believe this Pokemon to be Kabutops. I can see why people would think this. They look alike, they're both extinct, and they both lived 300 million years ago. However, I don't think this is the case, and I'll explain why. First off, lots of Pokemon have similar appearances that are not related, like Raichu and Dedenne, or Clefable and Gengar. Some even look like they could evolve into each other, like how Sharpedo looks like he could evolve into Garchomp, or Marowak could evolve into Kangaskhan. Kabutops and Genesect are simply in the same boat. But the main reason why I disagree with this theory is due to Kabutops being a water-rock type shellfish Pokemon, while Genesect is a steel bug type insect Pokemon. And while Genesect's steel type most likely comes from the modern day version's new metal body, it doesn't explain how he's suddenly a bug type. And going from a shellfish Pokemon to an insect just doesn't make sense either. Being a bug type is clearly from his original form. Kabutops is clearly not a bug type, and for him to go from a water-rock shellfish to a bug-type insect is not only highly unlikely, but just plain ridiculous. I have my own opinion on who Genesect's ancestor was, and I'll explain who it is and my theory behind it. It may sound a little ridiculous at first, but just hear me out. I think that 300 million years ago, Genesect was once the third evolutionary stage of Parasect. Now, I know a lot of you are like, "Well, Parasect doesn't evolve into anyone!" Yes, I'm aware of that, but my theory is that he doesn't evolve now. But 300 million years ago, he did, but lost his ability to evolve, and I'll explain why. It really makes sense once it's explained. Millions of years ago, something happened that wiped out all prehistoric Pokemon. But before that, Paras and Parasect had a third evolutionary stage, and that was Genesect. And there is evidence to support this too. If you look at Genesect, you can actually see how Paras and Parasect's body may shape itself into Genesect when it evolves. Some portion of the body even match up, like its claw things. The purple metal body and the cannon on its back are extra features that Team Plasma added to it in order to make the modern day Genesect stronger than its predecessor, much like how Mewtwo was a modified version of Mew. Now, I am aware that going from this to this is a drastic change in appearance. There have been other Pokemon that have gone through changes just as great or even more so when they evolved, like Dragonair to Dragonite, or even Kabuto to Kabutops. So it's not hard to believe that when Parasect evolved, it goes through a big change in appearance, but it still has similar features that connect it to its previous form. I'm thinking that the original Genesect looks something like this. Take away the cannon and its purple metal body, and it looks much more likely. And there's also the fact that all three are insect-type Pokemon. Another supporting part of this theory is the name similarities, as they both have the word sect in their name. This is a common theme for Pokemon of the same evolutionary line. A few examples would be Pichu, Pikachu, and Raichu, or Nidoran, Nidorino, and Nidoking. I don't say that Genesect is actually a new name given to the modern day version of that, the way Mewtwo got his name, because it's evident in anime, the Genesect that appeared in the movie actually thought they were their predecessors, and still went by the same name. And even in the games, it stated that Genesect was a Pokemon that existed millions of years ago. This is different from Mewtwo, who did not exist in the past, so he was given an entirely different name. So whether it was the one from 300 million years ago, or the modern day version, their name was still Genesect. One last thing on this. Don't give me any crap of how legendary Pokemon aren't supposed to evolve from anyone. First off, that's not an absolute fact, it's just that all legendary Pokemon so far have not evolved from anyone. Second, the original Genesect from millions of years ago was not a legendary Pokemon. Only the modern day version, since it's so rare and so powerful, was given the title of a legendary Pokemon, but its predecessors did not have that honor. And if you're one of the people that believe that there's only one of each legendary Pokemon, then the fact that there are many Genesect in the past contradicts that it was a legendary Pokemon back then. And if you originally, or still believe that Genesect was once a Kabutops, then that still means that Genesect evolved at one point. So if you share either of those two beliefs, then you must admit that the original Genesect was not a legendary Pokemon either way. Actually, the truth is that even the modern day Genesect isn't a legendary Pokemon. Sorry to burst your bubble, but he's a mythical Pokemon, not a legendary one. And while the American version doesn't differentiate between the two, Mythical Pokemon are a related but separate group from the legendary Pokemon that are so rare that their existence is questioned. So with there only being 5 modern-day Genesect around, of course they would be given the mythical title, but as awesome and as powerful as they are not legendary. Now, getting back to Parasect and why it lost its ability to evolve. It's all because of the mushrooms on its back. Millions of years ago, neither Paras or Parasect had these mushrooms, but when whatever happened that caused the prehistoric Pokemon to go extinct occurred, Paras began a symbiotic relationship with the Tochukaso mushroom. In the real world, these mushrooms were actually used in Chinese herbal medicine to extend life, and used to treat ailments like fatigue and even cancer. And even in the episode, The Problem with Paras, Parasect's mushroom was needed to produce a miracle potion, which improves a Pokemon's attack power, defense, concentration, determination, and intellect. In the real world, actual Tochukaso mushrooms are indeed parasitic, and they even replace the insect host's tissue and affect the behavior of it. In the Pokemon world, this is taken a step further, and the Tochukaso mushroom draw nutrients from Paras' body and begin to exert some command over it. It therefore orders Paras to suck up nutrients from tree roots, and since it prefers damp dark places with high humidity, it makes Paras typically seek residence in caves. These contributing factors the mushrooms provide, from changing where Paras lives to giving it medical treatment and amplifying its abilities, allow Paras, and by extension Parasect, to survive the great prehistoric Pokemon extinction. But what of Genesect? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Though Paras and the Tochukaso mushroom starts out as symbiotic, it later takes a more sinister turn. When Paras evolves into Parasect, the mushroom on its back evolves with it, and when it does, the relationship changes from symbiotic and semi-parasitic to completely parasitic. As has been stated in every Pokedex entry, the mushroom on Parasect's back completely takes over the host's body and does all the thinking, reducing Parasect to a zombie, which is demonstrated by its blank white eyes. It's also stated that Parasect is drained of all nutrients and must seek them out elsewhere, which is why it is known for draining the nutrients from trees. The mushrooms also cause something called neoteny in Parasect. Neoteny is actually found in modern-day humans, but only in children and adolescents. Neoteny causes paedomorphism, which slows down or delays the physical development process. Because of all this, Parasect lost its ability to evolve. Perhaps the mushrooms even knew that if Parasect evolved again, it would become strong enough to resist its control, and the mushroom would lose its hold over it, so it prevents it from evolving. Personally, I think it's simply the lack of nutrients the Pokemon itself has, and the delayed process of its development that's the main cause. Whatever the case, Parasect was no longer able to evolve into Genesect. Though in modern times, neither Paras or Parasect need the mushrooms to survive anymore, it's too late for them to turn back. When Paras or Parasect breed, the mushrooms spread its spores over the eggs, ensuring that the newborn Pokemon will grow mushrooms of their own. Even in the episode Clefairy and the Moonstone, it's revealed that even though Paras is able to remove its mushrooms, and even in the episode The Problem with Parasect, it's revealed that Parasect can have his mushroom removed, the spores that are left behind will ensure that more mushrooms will grow in their place. With the ability to evolve to Genesect lost for millions of years, the only thing we're left with for this lost evolution are the remains from before Parasect lost its ability to evolve. This is when Team Plasma came along and created 5 new modified Genesects, designed to be superior to the predecessors to the point where they're classified as legendaries. But the identity of who their predecessors were has remained unknown, until now. It is in fact the lost evolution of Parasect that it gave up in order for its species to survive, not knowing that it was essentially making a deal with the devil in the process. As you can see, there are indeed signs that support my theory, and all the pieces fall into place. But then again, maybe I'm completely wrong, and the original Genesect is just some random extinct Pokemon that we'll never know of. You decide. I hope you enjoyed my theory and take into consideration. Feel free to comment and share this video with others, and I'll be back with more theories from other series. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.